With this email triage agent, you'll be able to take your incoming emails, label them based on whatever categories you choose, and have them sent to the right department, such as your customer service team or your billing department, or even acted on right within the system that will respond to the user, send the email out, write and draft additional emails, create summaries for you, and so much more. Okay, and let's go ahead and take a look at this workflow in action. You'll see this is my email account here, and they all have all these tags on them. That's because my bot has tagged all my emails as they come in. I'm going to go ahead and send myself another email here. So Bradford at bradfordcarlton.com. We'll say your invoice. Here is your invoice for $13.69 for services rendered. All right, we're going to go ahead and send that. And we'll double check over here that I get it. Make sure I get my email from myself. Come on, where are you? It takes like 5 seconds for it to actually send. You know, you're going to be like that, huh? You said it sent. There it is. Okay, so there's my email from myself. And then what's going to happen is my email triage agent is checking every minute. It's polling every minute. And because that sounded like an invoice, I said it was an invoice, it's probably going to come down the finance and billing path and log it and tag it as something to do with finance and billing. So let's come over here and see if it's run yet. It hasn't quite happened yet, but probably in just a moment, we'll see that tag appear. All right, and there we go. We see it tagged it with finance and legal and billing. So there it is. I can open up this label on the side and see if that's exactly the right one. So wonderful, our workflow works. As always, you can get today's workflow by going to our free Skool community, where we keep all of our past workflows, training videos, tools, and templates. You can also join hundreds of AI enthusiasts all looking to grow their businesses with AI-powered automations. And make sure to join us on our advanced community, where we have over 20 hours of additional AI and N8N training courses to help you learn how to ride this AI wave, as well as a group of committed AI-focused business owners, all looking to help each other grow and scale. Okay, now, how does this guy actually work? You'll see it's got all these extra parts and pieces. You don't have to use it all. That's the first thing I want to let you know is everybody manages their emails different. Everybody manages their business different. I set a lot of this up in order to be able to just have it there in case you wanted to be able to use it. You don't necessarily need to follow the exact processes I have. You don't have to have every single label that I have set up in here. Just be aware that these are different possibilities that you can have set. So I'm going to go through it all. I'm going to explain everything, but do understand these aren't necessarily just for, to set this up exactly as it is. This is really for you to be able to take pieces and parts. Maybe you don't really have to deal with any legal issues. If you don't have any legal issues, you may not have to tag it with a legal issue tag, right? But you might have financing issues or invoices that you want to send to your bookkeeper. Or maybe you have customer support issues that come in that you want to add in, maybe like a vector store tool, and give your agent that RAG database to then respond to your customer support ticket that came in via email. I mean, you should be thinking through this workflow, not necessarily exactly for what it is, but what it can be for you. And so that's what I really want to understand is each of these paths is just an option. You don't have to have it. You can if you want. You can build off of this if you want. So how does this work? What we're doing is we are using a Google Gmail trigger here. All right, and so I have my credentials set up. If you don't yet have your Google credentials set up, I have a link in the description below on how to set up all of those credentials. All right, we have polling time set to every minute. So every minute it's checking my Gmail account, seeing if I got a new email. If I did, it then will act on it. If I didn't, it doesn't do anything. All right, and so what we're checking for is message received. And specifically, we're looking for that label of unread. All right, and so there is a way to kind of cut off this agent to the pass, so to speak. If you get an email in and then you open it before the polling time runs and it has a chance to label it itself, it will not be marked as unread, and therefore it's not going to label it. Okay, so just be aware of that. If you get to your emails too quick, your bot's not going to act. We then run it through a text classifier node. Text classifier node is looking at the email subject, and it's looking at the email body. It's looking for what is in this email. It is then going to determine which path it's going to send it down. And here are the paths that I've made. Again, you don't necessarily have to have them all. You don't have to have them the way that I have them. Just understand that these are kind of the general topics that you might include. We've got miscellaneous and low priority, finance and billing, customers and clients, sales and business development, internal and team communications, as well as external partners and vendors. I also have another branch for what if we just can't determine what this is. And then I give it a system prompt down here. And the system prompt simply lets it know that it has all of these categories and that it needs to take that information and output it into only one of those categories. All right, so let's come up here and let's kind of go through each of the different categories and a little bit of the structure that I've developed. But again, your process is going to be different. Figure out what it is you want to happen to your emails, whether you want the agent to automatically respond to them or just to note them and tag them or to send them to someone else. I'm just giving you options here. So what we do is we take from that text classifier, and if it decides that it's miscellaneous and low priority, we send it to another text classifier. So this again gets the email subject and the email body. It then is going to make a determination of what kind of miscellaneous or low priority email was this. We have newsletters and subscriptions, social media and notifications, and spam and unimportant emails. All right, and so if it's one of those, it's going to then send it down one of these paths. And what these paths do is it's just a labeling node. So it's a Gmail node, it's connected with my credentials, resource is message, operation is add label, and it's going to, if it's gone down this path, we're going to add a label which you have to set up in your Gmail account, all right? So if it's not set up in your Gmail account, I'm gonna show you real quick. So if you don't have all these labels created, then it's not gonna be able to pull from it. And over here in the N8N node itself, if I wanted to add additional labels, it's pulling these directly from my Gmail account, all right? So here's all of my options that I've put into the system. I could add additional ones, and all I would have to do is like click it, and then it'll add it in here. And how do I delete that? Right. Oopsie. Okay, there we go. And what we're doing is we're grabbing the message ID back from the Gmail trigger, just grabbing the ID of the message and assigning the label that we're attaching to it. And then that's all it does. It puts the label on it, and then it'll show up in your email here. So in this case, social and notifications is one of the ones that goes down this path. The newsletters and subscriptions, it just adds the tag to it. So that way I see it. I can decide whether I want to read it or not, if it's important enough to read, just at a glance, looking at the color, looking at the title. And you can always, obviously build out the structure of this bot to send it to different processes, send it to different emails, and really build this out and make it a true part of your system. But so we have newsletters and subscriptions, social media and notifications. It just adds the label, as well as spam and unimportant. It adds the label. So those three, that's an example of just adding a label. If it labels it or tags, identifies it, classifies it as finance or billing, it'd be finance, billing, and legal over here. We then bring it to another text classifier, which gets our email subject and email body again. In this case, we have two categories. One's invoices and payment reminders. The other is legal and compliance, because sometimes you get that type of email. All right, we give it a system prompt that tells it has to classify it in one of those two categories. And then we have two processes. Now these processes, each one will add a label. So these are the same as what we just saw. So message, resource, operation is add a label, pulling the same message or message ID, the email ID, and then attaching a label. So these are just labeling nodes here. But on this path, I'm showing you that you can take that message and then you can summarize that message. Here we have 4.0 mini, and we're running it through this system prompt. You're a finance billing assistant. Your job is to summarize the incoming email and give it in a short, concise way back to the user. And so it's going to output the subject and the message, and it's going to give us we put the incoming email into here so it has that context. And then that's it. It's going to process a summary of it. That summary is then going to get emailed. And in this case, I have it set to email to just another email of mine. just as an example of being able to send it off. So if you have a bookkeeper that you want all of your invoices get to send to, you can have all of your invoices automatically sent to the bookkeeper without even having to open it. Whereas it will tag it, it'll put it in your email with that tag, and you can check it if you want, or it's going to automatically forward it on. Here we have an operation of send using my email credentials with a subject that it creates, and we attach the body of the message, and you'll notice it's supposed to output an item here. I think I might have messed this up a little bit, but it gives us a subject, it gives us a message, and then that gets attached to the email that gets forwarded to us, as well as additional information. Here is the original message. So it gives us a from, a subject, and the original message of the email that came in. So when we send this to our bookkeeper, it's going to send them a summary of what we received. It's going to send them this additional information of who's it from, what's the message subject, and what's the message body, all within the first email they get, so that they don't have to expand out the email to see the forwarded information, because sometimes that doesn't always transfer through. If you forward stuff to people, I just put it right into the message body. All right, and then we do the same thing for the legal department. In this case, you're a legal compliance assistant to summarize the incoming email. Same information, to give it the incoming email body. We tell it to output a subject and a user. And we have it output as a JSON, by the way. So that's how it knows to give us the information. And then we send this forwarded as well. I just have my email, another email in here. And then subject is the subject line that it comes up with, the message that it came up with. And then we forward on all this additional information as well, the original message that got sent. All right. Another path that we have here is customers and clients. And so from the text classifier that determines it's a customers and clients type of email, we then pass it through this text classifier, which has 3 options: customer support and questions, orders and payments, and feedback and reviews. And of course, we give each of these a description of what it is or should be, as well as a very brief system prompt that it's categorizing these into one of those 3 categories. That's it. So customer service and questions comes up this top path. It labels the message as customer service, customer support kind of label. Again, you can change the labels for yourself and your needs and your company. I just kind of have it so you can see it visually of what it is here, as well as then passes it through this email drafting agent here. It's actually an OpenAI node that is going to do a model operation using 4.0 mini, and we're outputting the content as a JSON. But what this one is doing is it is going to prepare a message to our customer support team. Now, you don't have to do it this way. I think I mentioned it. This is essentially the same as sending it to your bookkeeper or sending it to your attorney on this path up here. Instead, you can have it actually answer the client. So if you wanted to, you would just set up a tools here with your maybe like a Supabase vector store, and then you would tell it which table you want to pull from, make sure that you have all of your information, you set up your embeddings model, just build out the RAG with all of your customer support questions and answers that it might possibly ever have to deal with. And then tell it that, okay, you're going to respond to the customer, pull the answer from our Supabase database, and then draft a response. And then that drafted response could then be emailed back to the client who emailed in with the customer support ticket in the first place. So that's an option of something that you can do with this. But I just have a message email, resource message operation send. I have an email in there. And then same thing, same process I had before, where I give the message from the agent and then the original message with the from, subject, and message. But again, you can change that to be a customer support bot if you really wanted. All right, our next path is orders and purchases. Here, we just have a label, mark it as orders and purchases, and then we have another email that gets sent out. This one would be a reply. So you can also reply to messages as an option. And we just have a quick message that says, received, I've received your message. Please give me 24 hours to review this and see what I can do. Sincerely, your name. So if it's a kind of response, when a response is required, in that case, you can have it just automatically respond and then maybe continue the process to then go through and notify who it needs to notify or activates the system. Either way, you can set up the system to automatically reply is what I wanted to show you here. All right, and then another branch, we have customer feedback. So say that somebody sends you an email going, man, this was the greatest product since sliced bread. I wish everybody would know about this. Well, that sounds like a testimonial or a review, right? It's not necessarily something that has to be handled, but it's something that you do want to make sure you take track of. So we have another branch here that comes down, feedback and reviews. Again, all this node here does is adds the label of feedback and reviews. We then run the message through a sentiment analysis, which will return a response of either positive, neutral, or negative. All right, so it's going to read the message, and it's going to go, this is a positive message, it's a neutral message, or it's a negative message. If it's positive, here's something that you can do. We have an AI agent, an OpenAI node here. This is one of the first agents I built. So nowadays I would just use an AI agent and build it out myself. But this was one of the first ones I built. I just haven't changed it. But we have message a model. In this case, it is going to draft an email response to the email that got sent, the positive testimonial or positive review that you received, thanking the customer and asking if they can use their feedback as a testimonial. All right. Now, this one, it will then email the customer with that message. So it replies with the message that it just generated. And I will tell you, I had a mini heart attack the other day because it did this. I had a client of mine send me a wonderful testimonial via email, and the agent responded to them, and then the client responded back. Now, I check my emails all the time. I'm one of those people who I'm always checking. And I had a client call. I was gone for an hour. I came back. I was able to check my emails as soon as I was done with the call. And I saw this message that had like 3 or 4 messages in it. And I'm like, I don't remember responding to this, but I clearly did. This is really scary. The bot had responded. It was a testimonial. They gave it to me. The bot said, hey, thank you so much. Can we use this on our website? And the person's like, absolutely. And then they gave up an even better testimonial, and the bot responded to that as well. And I'm like, it was having a whole conversation without me, which was all really good. It worked out, but I'm like, so you can have the bots respond on your behalf. Just be aware that it might respond on your behalf, right? And you need to know what it's going to say. If they send neutral feedback, I've got another agent here that simply writes an email back to the customer, be happy and be helpful and happy. And then it responds to the customer, just replies. Message is just the json.message.content.message. And then if it's a negative sentiment, then we just label it as a negative, because that's something that we're going to have to handle and find a way to. We don't want necessarily the bot to respond to. All right, that's an option that you can go with. I've got a track for sales and business development. Here we have a node that just labels it as sales and business development. We then run it through another AI node. This one is just going to summarize our emails, no different than the legal or billing emails. And then this one can send it to your sales department, or if you have a sales manager or a sales team. If you get this email, if you're at the top of the company and you shouldn't be necessarily dealing with every type of email, I want you to see this as a tool that you can start getting stuff off of your plate. All right, so this will just send it to the sales department, letting them know that they got an email. All right, we have internal and team communications. This one is just another text classifier. It reads the email, decides whether it's an HR or employee matter, a meeting and scheduling matter, IT or technical support, and then it'll label it as that. Again, you can always expand out the process afterwards. All right, we have one for externals, partners, and vendors. That's just a label. Nothing special happens to that. And then general business communications. And so this would be the other branch. So you see it lights up the other branch here. This is if the email, the text classifier is just not able to figure out what this email really is. So if you get an email that just says something like, sounds good, I wouldn't know what that is either unless I had the context of the conversation or the person. Your AI agent does not necessarily have that context. You might be able to build it in, but this one doesn't have that context. And so I had a branch for what happens if it just isn't able to classify it. So we have a text classifier here, breaks it into 3 paths: unsorted business messages, follow-ups without context, and general discussions. And then if it's unsorted, we just add a label. If it's a follow-up that seems like there's some sort of conversation going on there, we're going to try to get any other messages from that person. So I thought I had it here. That could be why it wasn't working the other day. I'll go in and fix the JSON here in just a moment. Actually, let's go ahead and see here. We have from our Gmail. I might as well show you how to fix it. So we have from our Gmail. So let's go ahead and put this in. So from our Gmail trigger, we're going to have an item.json dot, what do we have? Let's actually go into it to finish it off. So I'll show you how to find it. So over here, it's pulling my information. I have to find the email that sent this in here. And it's just a matter of scrolling down under from address. Okay, from here. So dot from dot add, wait, dot. Uh-oh. Oh, I guess it wasn't just straight address. What was it? Down here, from value address. Okay. So this is how you would come in and find it. Now, if your path was already filled up, you'd have been able to just grab it, but mine wasn't. But I'm showing you how to fill this in yourself. So why is it not dot address? Dot, okay, so it's value 0. So square brace 0 dot address. Now it found it and it got it. Cool. Okay, and so what it will do is if it's not sure of what the context is and it's got some random follow-up message, it's now going to go and pull the email from your email account of the last 5 emails you've had with that email address. It's then going to pass that information into this email or this AI agent here. And I better double check that it gets it. Yes, it gets the output from that AI agent, as well as the message that it's responding to. And it's going to write a summary of the past dealings with that person over the past 5 emails. And it's going to then pass that information. In this case, I have it send to self to send you another email to go, hey, we got this email from so-and-so. It wasn't quite clear what the email was actually about, but giving you the updated information that this is what it's about. This is the past few conversations you've had, and this is probably how you should respond. All right, and so it's just a send operation with the same kind of, here's the message from the bot before, as well as the past information. So hopefully you see what you can do with this email triage agent. This will allow you to be able to build up systems that take your incoming emails and handle them in ways that I know are not necessarily completely covered here. I wanted you to be able to see what you can do because you can really flesh out the process of your emails and use this as part of a larger executive assistant bot that's capable of handling your communications for you. So if you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video because it really does help get this information out there to those who need it. And if you want a copy of today's workflow, just click the link in the description below to be able to go to my free school community where this workflow, as well as a ton of other workflows ranging from social media posting bots to lead scrapers to personal assistants and so much more are all available absolutely for free right there in the free school community. As always, I'm Bradford Carlton. Let's automate your success together.